Hari Om, Bhagavad Gita, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, Chapter 18, Recapitulation, Part 2. We have already seen the 39 golden verses of Bhagavan Krishna. In verse 40, Bhagavan Krishna says, there is no existent being either on the earth or anywhere else who is free from the three gunas born of Prakriti or nature. That explains why there is so many varieties of people with different characteristics. In verse 41, Bhagavan says the duties of Brahmanas, that is, intelligent scholars or scientists, Kshatriyas, leaders or army chiefs, Vaishyas, traders, and Sudras, workers. They are based on their Swabhava Gunas, that is, the qualities are based on their own nature. In verse 42, Bhagavan says, what is the nature or qualities of a Brahmana? Composure, self restraint, religious discipline, cleanliness, forgiveness, uprightness, knowledge, realization, accepting the authority of Vedas. They are the inborn qualities of a Brahmana. So if someone says, I am a Brahmana, he has to question whether he has got all these qualities. In verse 43, Bhagavan says, what are the qualities or the nature of a Kshatriya? Valor, self confidence, firmness, dexterity, not running away from the battle, and leadership. They are the inborn qualities of a Kshatriya. In verse 44, Bhagavan says the inborn qualities of a Vaishya and a Sudra. Agriculture, rearing cattle, trade and commerce, they are the inborn qualities of a Vaishya. Rendering service to others is the inborn quality of a Shudra. In verse 45, Bhagavan says, a man who delights in his own duty, he gains success. How? Bhagavan says, hey Arjuna, that you listen from me. In verse 46, Bhagavan says, worshipping the one, capital O, capital N, capital E, that is the Brahman, from whom the beings arise and who pervades everything. By doing one's own duty, man attains perfection. The best method to worship Bhagavan is doing your duty perfectly. That is what Bhagavan says in verse 46. That is what I understand. In verse 47, Bhagavan says, Shreyan swadharmo vigunagam paradharma swanushtitat swabhavaniyatam karma kurvannapnodi kilbisham. Bhagavan already said this in an earlier verse. Bhagavan again insists that one's own duty, even if devoid of merit, even if it is not done perfectly, it is better than duty of another person, which is well done. Even assuming that you do the other person's job well, Bhagavan says that is not correct. The one who performs duty according to his own Subhava Guna, he will not incur any sin. Why Bhagavan insists on Swadharma? What is the reason? In verse 48, Bhagavan says, the action that is natural to a person, even though defective, one should not give up because all undertakings are covered with evil, like fire is covered by smoke. I think Bhagavan is saying the other side is always green. You do not know what are the troubles, the, the extreme difficulties the other person is undergoing in his job. From here, we think that, oh, he's a businessman happily going in a wonderful car. We are thinking, what are the difficulties that fellow is undergoing? How many people he has to answer? What are the troubles he is facing? Nobody knows. The other side always looks rosy. That is why Bhagavan says, your job well done is always better. In verse 49, Bhagavan says, how to achieve the most exalted accomplishment. That is actionlessness by renunciation. Three conditions must be satisfied. Bhagavan says, the one whose mind is free from attachment everywhere. Two, who has self mastery. And three, from whom longing has gone. That is, there is no desire for any object of this world. He attains the most exalted accomplishment. In verse 50, Bhagavan says to Arjuna, hey Arjuna, learn from me, in brief, how the one who has gained antakarana shuddhi, purity of the mind, who gains the ultimate knowledge of Brahman. In verse 51 to 53, Bhagavan prescribes almost 13 conditions for the to pursue the jnana nishta. Bhagavan says, 1. The one who is endowed with a very clear mind. 2. Mastering the body mind sense complex with a firm resolve. 3. Giving up the sense objects such as sound, etc. 4. Giving up likes and dislikes. 5. Lives in a quiet place. 6. Eats lightly, that is, he is not overeating or undereating. 7. Whose speech, body, and mind are mastered. 8. Who is always committed to contemplation. 9. Who is completely free from longing. 10. Who has given up I sense or ego, power, arrogance, binding desires, and anger. Then 11. Given up ownership of external things or aggrandizement. Everything is for me. That is the thinking. That should be given up. 12. Who has no sense of ownership of his own body. All your attachments of this world is because of your body. I think if you fulfill this, then everything will automatically go. It's my view. 12. Who is tranquil is the one, Bhagavan says, that person who has got all these 13 qualities is the one who is fit to become Brahman, or who is fit to pursue the Jnana Nishta. How to find out that he has become Brahman? In verse 54, Bhagavan says, the one who has become Brahman, his mind is always cheerful. Whatever happens, you can see that mind from his face, always cheerful. Neither grieves nor longs for anything. For him, all beings are the same, and he obtains supreme devotion to me. In verse 55, Bhagavan says, by bhakti, the one who knows me properly knows how much I am and who I am in reality. That fellow only knows. That too through bhakti. Thereafter, knowing me in reality, he enters me. In verse 56, Bhagavan says, the one who is doing all actions, always taking refuge in me, because of my grace, he obtains the eternal, imperishable state. In verse 57, Bhagavan says, how to fix the mind on Bhagavan while performing all actions. This is a secret. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sannyasia matparagam buddhi yogamupashitya machitta sadadam bhavam. Bhagavan says, hey Arjuna, mentally renounce all actions in me. Have me as the highest goal of life. Resort to buddhi yoga or yoga of discrimination. Ever fix your mind on me. Sir, how is this possible? If I am working, how can I keep Bhagavan in my mind? If somebody asks that question, my answer would be like the mother who does all her activities in the house. She takes any number of activities in the house. She may be doing even office work on her laptop. but always keeps her mind or chitta on the baby in the cradle. Slight movement of the baby, slight sound, minute sound, even if the door is closed, she runs. How? Because in her mind, the baby is there. Similarly, one has to keep Bhagwan in his mind while doing all his duties, whatever be your duty. That is what I think. What is the benefit if I keep Bhagwan in my mind? Why should I keep Bhagwan in my mind? What is the use? If I don't keep, what will happen? Because we are all thinking people, so we will question that. This question is answered by Bhagwan in verse 58. Bhagwan says, the one whose mind is always on me, he will cross all the difficulties of life because of my grace. Whatever obstacles come, it will automatically go away. But if due to your ego, if you do not listen, then Bhagavan says, I am sorry, you will perish. This is not a threatening statement by Bhagavan. Bhagavan he has nothing to gain in this world. He need not have to threaten, hey, you have to surrender to me, otherwise you will suffer. No, no, no. It is a statement of fact. So, statement of fact, fire. If you touch fire, it will burn your finger. It is a statement of fact. It is not threatening thing. So, Bhagavan says, if you don't keep me in your mind, you will perish. In verse 59, Bhagavan directly addresses Arjuna. Bhagavan says, hey Arjuna, if due to your ego, if you decide not to fight, your decision is unfortunately wrong. Your nature will compel you to fight. Remember, because Arjuna is a Kshatriya by disposition. That is why Bhagavan tells him. Hence, Bhagavan in verse 60 warns Arjuna. Hey Arjuna, you will helplessly do what you do not wish to do because of your disposition. Suppose if you do not hear me, if you say no, I will not fight, you will helplessly do what you do not wish to do, Arjuna, because it is your nature. In verse 61, Bhagavan says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrittesherjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudani mayayam. Bhagavan says, the Lord remains seated in the hearts of all beings. None is except. Everyone's heart, there is Bhagavan Krishna, causing them to revolve by his power of Maya. Battery is what? Maya is the battery. As if they are mounted on the machine. So you and I are mere puppets in his hands. In verse 62, Bhagavan says, surrender to me with your whole heart. By my grace, you will gain absolute peace and eternal abode. In verse 63, Bhagavan says, Idi te jnanamakyadam gugyat gugyataram maya virmushyai tatta sheshena yadechasi tata kuru. Bhagavan says, hey Arjuna, I have given the most secret of all secrets to you. Now consider this. Think it over. Do as you wish. I am not compelling you to do. I have given you the best of philosophy, best of the secrets. You use your brain. Don't keep it in the fridge. Use your brain. Bhagavan says this because any work undertaken due to compulsion or force, it will not bring the best in a person. It should be undertaken voluntarily, lovingly, and wholeheartedly. Then only that work will glitter, whatever be the one. That is why Bhagavan says, Etechasi tata kuru. In verse 64, Bhagavan says, hey Arjuna, listen to my ultimate statement. This is the most secret of all. I am telling you because you are beloved to me. I will tell you what is good for you. If you are a best friend, if you are a good teacher, you will always tell the good for your friend or your disciple. Bhagavan says, what is good for you, I will tell you. In verse 65, Bhagavan says, Manmana bhava mat bhaktah madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pradijane prayosi me. Bhagavan says, "Hey Arjuna, fix your mind on me, be devoted to me, sacrifice for me, worship me, surrender to me, then surely you will come to me alone. I promise you, because you are dear to me." In verse 66, Bhagavan says, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja agam tva sarva bhabebhyah mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Bhagavan says, give up all the dharmas, whatever it is, take refuge in me. I will release you from all the papas, all the sins. Do not grieve. According to all acharyas, this is the last verse of Gita. In verse 67, Bhagavan says, to whom this knowledge should not be given. Indirectly, Bhagavan says, to whom it should be given. Bhagavan says, this knowledge should not be taught to the one who has no religious discipline. 2. One who has no devotion. 3. One who is not willing to listen. 4. One who finds fault with Bhagavan Krishna or Gita Shastra. So then, this knowledge should not be given to that person. These conditions are not cumulative, but alternative. If any one of the condition is not satisfied, then he should not be taught Bhagavad Gita. In verse 68, Bhagavan says, the one who teaches Gita, the most exalted secret to my devotees, is the one having the highest devotion to me. He shall come to me alone. There is no doubt about this, Arjuna. That is what Bhagavan says. In verse 69, Bhagavan says, the one who teaches Gita is the one who is the best among men. He is the best. He is the one who is very dear to me, and there will not be anyone other than him who is dearer to me in this universe. Whoever it is. The one who teaches Bhagavad Gita is the most dearest to me. That is what Bhagavan declares. In verse 70, Bhagavan says, the one who studies or recites the dialogue between me and Arjuna, he worships me by Jnana Yajna. That is sacrifice of wisdom. Bhagavan says, this is my conclusion. Here, what is sacrifice is not wisdom. Because sacrifice of wisdom does not mean you sacrifice your wisdom. Ignorance is sacrificed in the fire of knowledge. In verse 71, Bhagavan says, a person who listens to this Gita Shastra with full faith, who does not find fault with this Shastra, is liberated and would gain auspicious worlds of those who do good karmas. That means what? You did not have to go and do any punya karma separately. Just by reading Bhagavad Gita, whatever good has to come by doing any other yaga, yajna or any other thing, going to temples, anywhere, everything you will gain by reading Bhagavad Gita. That is what Bhagavan says. That is what I understand. In verse 72, Bhagavan asks two questions to Arjuna, important questions. Has this Gita Shastra been listened by you, Arjuna, with single pointed mind? This is very important. With single pointed mind. 2. The second question. Is your delusion caused by ignorance destroyed? In my view, actually these questions are addressed to us. Bhagavan knows Arjuna has listened carefully. Because every time he is asking questions, he is asking doubts, getting it cleared. But we, while reading or hearing or listening Gita Shastra, must read, hear or listen with single pointed mind without any distraction. If we have listened in that manner, then it is 100% sure that the delusion caused by our ignorance will be destroyed. That is what I understand. Verse 73 is a very, very important verse. In verse 66, Bhagavan gave a promise to the entire universe, all the beings. whoever it is. Bhagavan said there in verse 66, give up all the dharmas, take refuge in me. I will release you from all the pavas, sins. Do not grieve. But the question is whether you have given up all the dharmas, surrendered to Bhagavan Krishna or not. That is the question which each one has to ask himself. The other fellow cannot decide. Arjuna in verse 73 says, Arjuna uvacha natto mogas smridirlaptam tvat prasadan maya chutam stitosmi gada sandegagam karishye vachanam tavam. Arjuna says, Hare Krishna, by your grace, my delusion is destroyed. I have gained recognition of myself. All my doubts have gone, destroyed. I will do as per your words. Again, it is very important because whoever it is, we have to live as per the words of Bhagavan Krishna. That is the indirect suggestion. What Arjuna said is what is expected from all of us. Bhagavan's grace is there for everybody, whoever it is, from saint to sinner. Bhagavan is like a flowing river. The question is, did you take your part and filled it? That is the question that has to be answered by each individual. Verse 74 to 78 goes back to Hastinapur palace. Sanjaya is giving his sitting and explaining everything, arrow by arrow commentary to the blind king Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya is now giving his opinion to Dhritarashtra. In verse 74, Sanjaya says, O king, I heard this wonderful dialogue between Bhagavan Krishna and Arjuna. I am thrilled by this wonderful dialogue. In verse 75, Sanjaya thanks sage Vyasa. The divine eye was first offered to Dhritarashtra by sage Vyasa. Dhritarashtra refused. Then it was given to Sanjaya. That is how Sanjaya could see and listen to the Gita Shastra. Sanjaya says, by the grace of Vyasa, I have listened to this secret and ultimate yoga from Bhagavan Krishna, the Yogeshwara himself, directly. What he means is there is no manipulation in this text. In between, there is nobody. Nobody has added, nobody has deleted. That is what he says. In verse 76, Sanjaya says, O king, repeatedly recalling this wondrous, auspicious dialogue between Bhagavan Krishna and Arjuna, I rejoice again and again. In verse 77, Sanjaya says, O king, repeatedly recalling the most wondrous form of Lord Hari, that is cosmic form, I have great amazement and I rejoice again and again. That is why every time we end with Hari Home. Hari is Krishna's form. Any form you see, it is a wondrous form. Automatically joy comes. So there is no wonder on seeing the cosmic form. Sanjaya got amazement or he was rejoicing again and again. There is no wonder about it. In verse 78, Sanjaya gives his final opinion on the war. It is a diamond verse on a golden ring, according to me. Glittering verse. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnagam, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaragam, Tatra Sri Vijayo Budhigim, Dhruvo Nitirmatirmama. Sanjaya gives his conclusion to the king, to Dhritarashtra. Wherever there is Bhagavan Krishna, the Yogeshwara, and wherever there is Arjuna ready to fight with his bow, there shall be prosperity, victory, happiness, all the riches, and rule of Dharma will prevail. This means keep Bhagavan Krishna in your heart and face the challenges of life. If you keep merely Bhagavan Krishna in your heart, that is not enough. You must face or fight the challenges of life yourself. Do not expect Bhagavan Krishna to come and fight for you. He informed Arjuna in the beginning of the war itself, I will not fight this battle. I will merely be present. I will be always with you. But you have to fight. The moment you start fighting, balance I will take care. That is what Bhagavan Krishna said to Arjuna. It is applicable to all of us. That is what I think. That is how this Bhagavad Gita Shastra ends. Hari Om Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Narayana 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 Narayana